You know how sometimes you just click with one person and not another? Or you wonder what the secret ingredient is to a relationship that actually goes the distance? Well, today, we're diving deep into the psychology of human connection and unpacking the real science behind our most important bonds.
So, first things first, let's start with the biggest question of all. Is our need for other people just, a preference, a nice to have? Or is it something way deeper, something that's actually hardwired into our biology?
Well, the evidence is honestly overwhelming that this is a core biological need. Take this famous series of experiments by Harry Harlow. He gave infant monkeys a choice: a mom made of cold wire who gave them food, or a mom made of soft cloth who only gave them comfort. And the monkeys? They overwhelmingly chose comfort, only leaving to get food when they absolutely had to. It proved that warmth and connection are just as vital for us as food itself. Okay, so that fundamental need for comfort and safety, that's our starting point. But how do we actually learn to go about getting it? If we're all born with this deep drive to belong, how do we each develop our own unique way of doing relationships?
A huge part of the answer lies in a powerful idea called attachment theory. Basically, it suggests that our very first bonds, usually with our parents, create a kind of internal working model. Think of it like an unconscious blueprint that tells you what to expect from other people. It's the personal operating system running in the background of your mind, shaping how you approach pretty much every connection you make for the rest of your life.
What's so cool about this diagram is how it maps out the main styles. It all comes down to two key things. First, your level of anxiety, how much you worry about someone rejecting you. And second, your level of avoidance, basically how comfortable you are with real, deep intimacy. Where you land on those two scales pretty much determines your attachment style.
So let's see how this actually looks in the real world. If you have a secure style, you probably feel pretty safe and connected in your relationships. If you're more on the avoidance side, you might feel a little smothered by too much closeness and really value your independence. And if you have a more anxious style, you might crave that intimacy, but often worry that your partner is going to leave. Do any of these sound a little familiar? All right, so we've got our internal blueprint. But what about what happens out in the world? What are the actual forces that first pull us towards somebody else? What is it that really ignites that initial spark of attraction?
It can totally feel like magic, right? That spark. But psychologists have found it's not quite so random. A lot of the time, it can be traced back to a mix of three surprisingly simple factors.
The first, and maybe the most powerful, is just proximity. And it's not just about who's physically closest, but what researchers call functional distance, which is just a fancy way of saying how often do your paths actually cross. I mean, think about this classic study at MIT. Students were 4 times more likely to become friends with their next-door neighbor than with someone who lived just at the end of the hall. That's proximity in action.
So why does just being around someone have such a huge effect? Well, it's all thanks to this funny little quirk in our brains called the mere exposure effect. It's super simple. The more we're exposed to something, whether it's a face, a song, whatever, the more familiar it gets and the more we tend to like it. Our brains just love things that are familiar.
And get this effect is so deep, it's not even just a human thing. In one study, they raised rats listening to either Mozart or music by Schoenberg. And later, when they put them in a cage, the rats consistently hung out on the side that was playing the music they grew up with. Turns out, even rats like the familiar classics.
Okay, the second key to attraction is similarity. But wait a minute, what about that old saying, opposites attract? That idea is called complementarity. So which one really wins out? Do we want someone who's basically our mirror image or someone who completes us by being different?
Yeah, well, when you look at the actual science, it's not even a contest. The whole opposites attract thing makes for a good movie plot, but in real life, similarity wins hands down. Just look at this study. Across 88 different traits, couples were way more alike than different. The bottom line is, we like people who are like us. A lot. And key number 3 is, you guessed it, physical attractiveness. A big reason this is so potent is because of a powerful mental shortcut our brains take called the halo effect. We see someone who's good-looking, and we just automatically assume they're also smart and funny and successful. It gives them a massive head start when it comes to first impression. Okay, so the spark is lit. Proximity, similarity, looks, they've done their job. But we all know that's just the beginning, right? So what is it that turns that initial liking into a real, deep, lasting bond?
To figure that out, social psychologists came up with this really elegant, surprisingly simple framework. It's called the investment model.
and it does an amazing job of predicting why some people stick together through thick and thin, while other relationships just fizzle out.
So according to this model, your commitment really comes down to just 3 things. First up, satisfaction. It's a simple cost-benefit analysis. Are the good things in the relationship outweighing the bad? Second, alternatives. Being totally honest, do you think you could find someone better? And third, investments. This is all the stuff you've put into the relationship that you'd lose if you left. Time, effort, shared memories, inside jokes, all of it.
But let's be real, even the most committed relationships run into problems. So when things do start to go wrong, what are the biggest red flags to watch out for? And more importantly, what does the research say about how to build a bond that can actually last?
Well, after decades of research, literally decades of observing couples interact, the scientist John Gottman and his team identified just four specific behaviors that are so toxic they can predict the end of a relationship with over 90% accuracy.
They're famously known as the 4 horsemen. You've got criticism, which isn't just a complaint, it's an attack on your partner's whole character. Then there's defensiveness, that instant, it's not my fault reaction. Third is stonewalling. That's when one person just shuts down and emotionally checks out. But the absolute deadliest one, contempt. Treating your partner with disrespect, sarcasm, mockery, looking down on them. That is the single greatest predictor of divorce. Period.
Okay, that was a little heavy, but here's the really good news. The research doesn't just tell us what breaks relationships, it gives us a clear roadmap for what makes them stronger. 3 really powerful strategies are: capitalize on the good, meaning actively celebrate your partner's wins; be playful, make time for fun, new experiences to keep that spark going; and finally, actively look for the good in your partner. Even idealize them a little bit. It builds up this huge bank of positive feelings. So as we wrap this up, take a second and just think about your own life. From your childhood attachment blueprint, to the things that you find attractive, to the habits that keep your bond strong, which of these ideas really hits home for you? Because understanding the science behind how we connect, that doesn't take away the magic. It just gives us a better map to find it.